Good morning. My name is Joseph Caiaphas. I was born in Jerusalem and raised in the Jewish faith. From childhood, I regarded our temple as the heart of our religion and of our nation. I loved everything about what happened in the temple, the daily prayers and sacrifices, the festivals where we remembered and celebrated the great acts of the Lord on our behalf as a nation, and the rituals and rites that kept our faith alive. All these I valued and treasured, and so I wanted to protect them from all threats. I married the daughter of Annas, who was the high priest from AD 6 to 15. And through his influence, I was appointed high priest by the governor, Valerius Gratus, in AD 18. For the next 18 years, I had a great working relationship with both Governor Gratus and also his successor, Pontius Pilate. Apart from overseeing all the temple activities, I also presided over the Jewish High Council, also known as the Sanhedrin. It was made up of about 70 leaders. Some of them were Sadducees like myself, others were Pharisees like Nicodemus, and then there were elders and teachers of the law as well. I can remember when we started getting reports of this Jesus character up in Gully coming through to us and the things he was up to. He was delivering people from unclean spirits. He was healing the sick. He was preaching and teaching to vast crowds of people. Well, it didn't really concern us too much because that was way up there and we were in Jerusalem. However, the Pharisees from up there had trouble with him not following the traditions of our elders. Let me give you 3 examples. Jesus kept company with people who were ceremonially unclean, including those labelled as sinners. Number 2, he was very haphazard about hand-washing arrangements and traditions. And number 3, on one occasion, he and his disciples were plucking heads of grain out of a paddock and eating them on the Sabbath. Well, technically they were harvesting and therefore they were working on the Sabbath. Go figure. Well, Jesus' disregard for our traditions came to our notice in Jerusalem when Jesus came to Jerusalem, and at the Bethesda pool, he healed a crippled man on the Sabbath. Should have known better. And when our leaders took him to task on this, Jesus claimed that he was doing the work of his Father, making himself equal with God. He was lucky he didn't get stoned on the spot. But from that day on, Jesus was a marked man. We kept an eye on him. Sometime later, Jesus came to Jerusalem for another festival, and we sent our temple guards to arrest him, but they came back empty-handed. They were so impressed with this Jesus, they couldn't arrest him. Well, we weren't very happy about that, and while we were grumbling about Jesus and about what had happened, the Pharisee Nicodemus started speaking up for him. And then I realized we needed to bide our time until Jesus said or did something so outrageous that we could formally charge him. Funny thing, in the city and in the regions, the common people, some of them were wondering if he might be the Messiah. Huh? I couldn't fathom why. I mean, everybody knows that there's no prophet ever come from the back blocks of Galilee. And so to limit Jesus' influence, we made a rule that anyone who acknowledged Jesus is the Messiah would be excommunicated or thrown out of the synagogue. We thought that might help. But no matter what we did, Jesus' popularity kept growing like winter weeds. His raising of Lazarus after being dead in the tomb for 4 days had so many eyewitnesses that news spread like wildfire. And we, the Sanhedrin, we were at our wits' end. Didn't know what to do about it. And one of my exasperated colleagues said, if we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him. And then the Romans will come and take away our temple and our nation. Perhaps you're wondering, why was Jesus a threat to our national security? Let me explain. Any rumours of a wannabe or would-be Messiah excited the common people's dreams of independence. If that got fanned into flame, it could lead to a revolt, and then the might of Rome and its army would come down on us all. And besides, a high priest who couldn't control the hysteria of the Jewish people wouldn't remain in office very long, would he? Realizing we needed to act, I came up with an elegant solution. Hey, don't you know, it's better that one man should die for the people than for the whole nation to be destroyed by the Roman response to a Jewish revolt. Most of the Sanhedrin agreed. And so, from that time on, we plotted to take his life and looked for an opportunity to arrest him. Well, as luck or providence would have it, one of his own disciples, Judas Iscariot, came to us, offering to betray him for money. Just 30 pieces of silver to hand Jesus over to us was a bargain at half the price. We would have paid 2 or 3 times as much. And so Judas led our temple guards to an olive grove, and they arrested Jesus. And from there, they took him to my father-in-law, Annas, for questioning. And then he was brought before me and some members of the Sanhedrin. We were looking for evidence in order to put him to death. But to do that, we needed 2 or 3 corroborating witnesses. Sadly for us, the witnesses that came forward contradicted each other, so we could not invoke the death penalty. Frustration. Finally, I, Caiaphas, the high priest, took things into my own hands, and I charged Jesus under sacred oath, to which he was obliged to tell the truth, and I asked him this question: are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed One? I am, he said, and you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the Most High and coming on the clouds of heaven. At last, we had it. Jesus had claimed to be divine. He had claimed the authority of God. We had him. And in disgust, I tore the collar of my robe. And then we all agreed he was guilty of blasphemy and deserved to die. An early meeting of the Sanhedrin at daybreak confirmed the verdict, and so we presented Jesus to Pilate for execution. We charged him of being a criminal. We accused him of claiming to be the King of the Jews, as well as the Son of God. But Pilate was not buying it. He kept saying, he is not guilty of any crime. How many times did we hear it? Time after time after time. Sure, I get it. Pilate was loath to impose the death penalty unless there was a warrant under Roman law to warrant it. So we kept agitating. Pilate already had a couple black marks against his name with Rome. So this is the tack we took. By claiming to be a king, this man is rebelling against Caesar and is therefore guilty of treason. And if you let him go, you too are opposing Caesar. And finally, Pilate handed Jesus over to be crucified. Ah, what a relief. With Jesus out of the road, things could now settle back to normal. And just to make sure, I sent some of my Sanhedrin colleagues to Pilate, asking him to seal the tomb and to place a guard around it. That way his disciples could not come and steal the body and claim that he'd risen again. In my mind, it was a masterstroke of strategy. So imagine my horror the next day when the Roman guards come belting on my door and telling us an angel came from heaven, rolled away the stone, sat on it, and told the women that he was alive. Hey, as a Sadducee, I didn't believe in angels. As a Sadducee, I didn't believe in resurrection. And as the high priest, it was my worst nightmare. Wanting to keep a lid on all this, we paid off the Roman soldiers and told them to tell others they fell asleep on the job, and we would stop them getting in trouble with Pilate. We thought that would be the end of it. But oh no, those wretched disciples claimed that he was alive, that they'd seen him, they'd spent time with him. And since we could not produce the dead body of Jesus to prove otherwise, these resurrection rumors kept spreading like a virus. A few months later, Peter is blaming me and the Sanhedrin for executing Jesus. And Peter claimed that God had raised him to life again. And Peter also claimed that it was by the name of Jesus that a lame beggar that used to sit by the temple gate had been completely healed. Well, everybody in Jerusalem knew who that lame beggar was. And there he was standing in our midst, so what could I do? We threatened them. We tried to shut down the spread of this Jesus nonsense, but to no avail. Later, during another clash with the disciples who would not stop talking about Jesus, the respected Pharisee Gamaliel, he sent them all out of the room, and then he said to the Sanhedrin, "Hey, I advise you to let this thing go. If these men, if their mission is from human origin, it will fail. But if it's from God, you will never stop it." History shows that all our attempts to destroy Jesus and his cause came to nothing. I mean, just a few years later, there were thousands of his followers in Jerusalem and in the regions. Even some of my priests, go figure. And ironically, it wasn't the followers of Jesus that caused the destruction of the temple. That would be the zealots, those fanatics. They're always wanting to take up arms against Rome. They incited the Jewish revolt in AD 66. And that war lasted 4 years. And after a long siege of Jerusalem, the Romans came in and totally destroyed our beloved city and its temple. Looking back, perhaps Gamaliel was right, and maybe I got Jesus all wrong. If his resurrection is true, then God is at work in this world through his Messiah, Jesus. In hindsight, here's what I've learned. Like me, you can reject and ridicule and persecute Jesus and oppose God. Or like his disciples, you can follow Jesus and be part of God's story for his world. In my arrogance and pride, I missed out on all that. That's my story. Thanks for listening.
As it says on the screen, there's an opportunity now to have a few minutes of reflection, either on your own or in discussion with somebody nearby, on some of the questions that are on the screen. So what in the story of Caiaphas jumped out at you, or what would you like to ask him? Why was Caiaphas threatened by Jesus? Why don't we need to feel threatened by Jesus? What is God's antidote for control freaks? And how do God's plans challenge us, change us, or comfort us? So feel free to choose a question or two and either to reflect on as based on what's been shared with us this morning, or have a chat with somebody next to you.